Hi, welcome to the F1 Time Portal, a Formula One history podcast by two engaging Formula One fans. I'm your host, Rosa.
And I'm your sexy thing host, Luigi. And today we're taking you back to the 76th season, part 2. So let's go. A good song.
Right, it's a good song, yes.
Yeah, do you know who sings it? Yeah, I was going to ask you.
I don't know. I'm very bad at that kind of stuff. Who sings it?
I'm pretty sure the band's called Hot Chocolate.
Oh, of course. I was going to say, as soon as you say it, I'll know it. They did have a lot of hits, yes.
Yeah, so
no, they're a
76.
good band. Good 70s band, Louis.
Yeah. It's a good band. And now we're finally getting to a race. So
yes.
It was a good detailed opening for 76 because it was warranted because there was a few big changes.
There were, yes.
So shall we see how those changes land?
Let's go.
Okay, so race 1 of 16, the Brazilian Grand Prix. It's at Interlagos on the 25th of Jan. It was 40 laps and the weather was very hot. So now we're back to Brazil being the season opener because the Argentinian race was cancelled due to a variety of reasons, including economic and political changes, but it will come back.
And here we have new cars for Lotus, Brabham, March and Fittipaldi and Ligier. So very exciting. First race, all new cars, and let's see how they perform.
Yeah, and the real attention was on the McLaren team and how they would go with their new wild driver Hunt as their team leader, and he was supported by Jochen Mass.
So on the first practice day, Lauda picked up where he left off and he set the pace. Regazzoni was not too far behind, so good start by the Ferraris, but it was a surprise to see the Fittipaldi, Luigi, in third place. I think they had done quite a lot of testing here. So I think they were reaping the rewards from that.
And I mean, the Fittipaldi team was interesting. I don't know if I mentioned it later, but they built a lot of their car from Brazilian parts.
Okay.
And this is at the Brazilian track.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so it's still impressive, but I'm sure that this might be a bit of a skewed outcome maybe. But on Saturday, they designated the morning session to the full fuel load running and tyre scrubbing at the suggestion of Goodyear. And this meant that the time set in this session would not count for the grid. So it was like we're starting to see the beginning of what is now Formula One. They have these sessions where it's practice and it doesn't count for qualifying. And we're starting to see that happening more and more.
Yeah. Well, it was bad luck for Jarier in the shadow because he remarkably set the pole time in that session. Like, I just wonder, Louis, whether he was actually running with a full fuel load. Oh, but anyway,
probably not.
Yeah.
But don't forget, he did set pole time at this track last year.
That's right.
But then he couldn't start because he shredded his teeth on the warm-up lap, remember?
Yeah.
So
yes.
Yeah,
not his actual teeth.
I doubt he had full fuel load though, I agree.
Yeah, I doubt it, yeah. So to the final practice session where they actually counted the time set, there was an exciting battle for pole position, which ended with Hunt getting pole for his new team. So I bet McLaren was happy at this point. And he set a time of 2 minutes 32.5, and it was actually 0.02 of a second faster than Lauda.
Yeah, that's super close. And this was Hunt's first ever pole position. So not bad. First pole. I mean, he'd won a race with Hesketh, but he hadn't had a pole. So, yeah, good on him. No. And what about Jarier?
He didn't do too bad in the end. He ended up third, followed by Regazzoni in the other Ferrari, Fittipaldi fourth, Mass in the other McLaren fifth, and then the rest of the field.
Oh, okay. So at this race, they were trialling a new starting system with the system being a white light flash to summon the cars forward to the grid proper, then a green light would flash to start the race. However, there was a glitch and the green light flashed almost immediately after the white light, which basically caught the front two drivers of Hunt and Lauda by surprise.
Okay, well, this meant that Regazzoni charged into the lead. Lauda recovered to take second, while Hunt, he spun his wheels a bit on the spot, and he initially fell to fourth, as Fittipaldi had also taken advantage of the confusion, and he went ahead of Hunt. So that was nice for his home race.
Well, it wouldn't last long because Fittipaldi's car would suffer from a misfire and he would quickly fall away. So at the end of the first lap, the first three were completely nose to tail, with Brambilla now in third, but he was starting to fall away as well himself.
Yeah, he was in the March, wasn't he? He finished last season in that March really strongly.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, so it'd be interesting to see him. I also don't think that Mr. Mike Lang likes Brambilla very much. We see some interesting things from him.
He's not attacking him as much lately. He's just letting it go. Yeah, he got the feedback from the publisher maybe and said, look, can you lay off on this guy? We're going to lose the Italian readers.
That's right. And there's a lot of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So unfortunately, Lella Lombardi qualified 22nd. Unfortunately, she was last, but only by 0.01 of a second. She was already heading to the pits with a technical issue. So that's good.
So while the leading trio were pulling away, Jarier in the shadow was repeatedly attacking Brambilla and was keen to take fourth place, then catching the trio ahead. There were repeated attempts made, and there were times Jarier passed Brambilla only to run wide and Brambilla would take the position back. So there's a lot of it. This is where all the attention on the race was on, because this is where the drama was.
Yeah. On lap 5, finally, Jarier passed Brambilla and he stayed ahead. And very quickly, he caught up to the leading trio of Regazzoni, Lauda and Hunt. So that shadow's doing quite well. I'm suspecting that Regazzoni, though, didn't have the pace to pull away from Lauda and Hunt, so that others were forced into a bit of a train. I bet if Lauda was in the lead, he would have pulled away already.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And this was proven true because Lauda was darting around either side of Regazzoni until eventually he did pass him on lap 9, and then he did exactly that. He started pulling away.
Regazzoni's he's done that a couple of times, hasn't he, where he's found, he held up Fittipaldi for 6 laps, didn't he?
Yeah.
Famously. Now he's holding up his own teammate.
Well, he's a good driver, but he's not of the caliber, and it shows when these situations come about.
Yeah. I did read that the new Ferrari manager, so remember there was Montezemolo. He was a team manager. He left for bigger and better things at Ferrari. I'm not sure what, but higher positions in the company. And Daniele Ordetto took over from him, but he didn't really get along with Lauda, and he favoured Regazzoni over him. So I bet there were no team orders to let Lauda through here. That's why it took Lauda so long to pass him.
And why would you favour Regazzoni over Lauda? Don't you want to favour the guy who just won the championship for you in 75 and dominated?
I think, look, I read somewhere because, Regazzoni was nearly Italian. He was that Italian-speaking Swiss. He came from the region that was sort of Italian. I don't know. It's not great. I agree with you. Why would you not favour your world champion at the moment?
Yeah. Okay. So let's see how this relationship goes, but apparently it gets progressively worse during the season.
Yeah. And so back to the race.
We'll address that as we go.
Yeah. It wasn't long before both Hunt and Jarier also passed Regazzoni. Jarier making a little bit of a contact with Ferrari, forcing Regazzoni into the pits for a tyre replacement.
Yeah, so by half distance, Lauda was the comfortable race leader, while behind him, Jarier was doing everything he could to take second place from Hunt. So he's really on fire in that shadow.
He loves this track. Imagine if he's actually able to start last season from pole. Anyway, the situation with Hunt was finally resolved when on lap 27, this is a 40-lap race, Hunt's car lost a cylinder or 3. I don't know. He went down to 7 cylinders, Louis. Was it 12
cylinders? 8 cylinders. 8.
Oh, they were 8. So he lost a cylinder and he lost a bit of power.
Yeah, so Jarier, that allowed him to get clear, but now he was 6 seconds behind the race leader Lauda, but he was not content with that.
Yeah, so Jarier was helped by setting the fastest lap of the race on lap 31, and he closed the gap to Lauda down to 2 seconds.
Yeah, so Hunt, struggling with his car, was caught out and went into the catch fences because obviously with that 1 cylinder down. At first, Hunt thought there was no damage, so he continued. What he was not aware of was that his oil coolers had been pierced and he was laying an oil slick on the track.
Oh, no. When Hunt realised, he pulled off the track. A minute later, Lauda came across the oil, but he spotted it and avoided it. That reminds me of Ascari, Luigi. Remember? Ascari and Fangio were very aware of what were coming up on the track. Jarier didn't see it, and he drove straight into it, and he slid off into the catch fences and into the guardrail.
Poor guy. So Jarier was okay, luckily. And as he lifted himself out of his damaged car, he literally watched his own teammate very nearly do the exact same thing.
That is such bad luck for Jarier. He could have won this race. But like I said, Lauda avoided it. So maybe Jarier lacks some awareness. I think that's the difference between like a good driver and a great driver, as we've seen over history.
Yeah, true. And maybe a bit of luck too, but I think it's more the what you said, the good driver versus the great driver, the ability to mentally absorb and take it in at huge speed.
Huge speed. Yeah.
So the race would run out with Lauda, and I also think Lauda would have still won. Catching is one thing, passing is another. So who knows?
True.
Yeah.
Who knows?
So the race would run out with Lauda winning by 21 seconds ahead of Depailler in the Tyrrell. Yeah, that wasn't the six-wheeler at that stage of the Tyrrell. And Price in the other Shadow, which was the car that nearly went off where Jarier went off. Stuck, he would finish fourth in his March, and that was a good drive from him coming up from 14th on the grid.
Okay, so to the standings, we've got Niki Lauda in the lead on 9 points. Weirdly, Patrick Depailler in second place on 6 points, and Tom Price in the Shadow in third place on 4 points. So very unusual leaderboard there, except for Lauda, of course. So we've got Ferrari in the lead on the constructor side, with then Tyrrell in the second place and Shadow in third place.
Okay. So we're up to race 2, the South African Grand Prix, so no Argentinian race, which we skipped. That's at Kyalami, 6th of March, 78 laps, and the weather was warm and sunny.
So one big change for this race was that there was a very high-profile driver changing teams. I think it was only a year ago that there was, I don't know if we reported it last year, Louis, but there was speculation that Peterson would leave Lotus to join Shadow, but Colin Chapman had convinced Peterson to stay with the team.
Yeah, but after only one race, Peterson was more disillusioned than ever with Lotus, and this time he did a deal with March, and he returned to the team he last drove for in 72, replacing Lella Lombardi.
That's massive move. He had clearly had enough of the Lotus. I think, the last few years, the Lotus has been very, very more unreliable than usual.
Or hot and cold.
Yeah. And after that first race at Brazil, I don't even think we mentioned him. Like, I know we're trying to keep these things short, but he wasn't even up there.
Yeah.
So Lotus went from fielding Peterson and Andretti in Brazil to Nissan and Evans. Like, who are those? Who are those people? Like, they've gone from two big names, like Peterson and Andretti, to Nissan and Evans.
Is it Nissan or is it Nielsen? Just checking.
Oh, I think it's Nielsen. I think that's
Nielsen's got something, but it might be a typo there. But I was going to say, it's definitely a downgrade.
Yeah. What happened to Andretti?
He was in and out in the US in Formula One. I'm not sure why he had such an inconsistent early Formula One career, because could be money. I mean, we have heard how the US pays a lot more for things, but I can't answer why Andretti was in and out.
Yeah.
And if he was a key player, we'd dig around and find out, but he's not. So therefore we let it go.
We let it go for now. All right. So back to the race and the practice sessions. A lot of teams did testing at this track. So again, it was Lauda who set the pace. However, on the first day of practice, it was Hunt who set the fastest time of the day.
I was up there again. So in the final practice session, everyone knew it would be a Hunt Lauda front row, because that's the way the form was. And would Lauda reassert himself? Because remember, Hunt got the last pole. Well, Lauda did improve his time to 1 minute 16.2, but Hunt also improved and secured his second pole in a row with 1 minute 16.1. So not a bad start with that McLaren team.
Oh, they're loving him now. They're going, look, you can wear whatever you like, buddy, just as long as you keep putting it on pole.
But maybe let's finish the race, but
yes. Watson was in third in the Penske. We don't talk much about the Penske team, but Watson, that's a good showing from him, followed by Mas in the second McLaren, and then Depailler, and then Brambilla.
Yeah. There was some politics the day before the race as the teams protested against McLaren and Penske, who were both using skirts under their car to prevent airflow under their car. The teams protested as they felt that it was a breach of the height limit of the car, not factored in this and hadn't factored in the skirts, as obviously the skirts were going as low as they possibly could, and that this was considered not fair.
Well, the CSI found in their favour, and the McLarens and Penskes started the race without their skirts.
But it's interesting to hear that there's that experimentation starting to happen in that area of Formula One aerodynamics.
Yeah. I think that's what I like about the 70s as well, Louis. Like all the cars were doing slightly different things and being very creative with their setup and stuff. We don't really see that much anymore.
Yeah. Well, once again, we see the pole sitter Hunt being offered which side of the grid he wanted to start from. We mentioned this last season as well, I think.
Very weird.
As it turns out, it didn't matter as he developed too much wheel spin again. Unlike, remember the last race he got caught out with Lauda, and it was Lauda who stormed into the lead. Mass took second place, Brambilla slotted into third, and Hunt recovered to fourth, just holding off a very determined Depailler.
All right, that's a pretty bad start, Louis. That's
pole not a muffed or not a nonsense or muffed start, right?
I don't know. You're on pole and now you're fourth.
Yeah, but it's not that bad.
It's not that bad. Okay. All right. So Peterson back in the March, now remember, qualified ninth, found himself up into sixth place. And where did the Lotus team, the team that he left, qualify? Well, they qualified 19th and 21st. So good decision so far by Peterson.
Yeah. At the front, Lauda quickly asserted himself and began just pulling away. So the attention started to turn to the battle for second place. And it was very exciting because Hunt made an effort to pass Brambilla by driving down the inside, just when Brambilla himself was pulling out to challenge Mass for second. And as a result, all three cars nearly touched.
Luckily, there wasn't a big incident though, as Brambilla completed his pass of Muss, while Hunt had to bide his time still in fourth. Muss quickly let his teammate Hunt through, and it wasn't long before Hunt was right on Brambilla's tail.
That Brambilla, he's on form. He's having
he is.
To bring back the purple patch discussions. So yeah, because he's outperforming the car. He's not winning, but he's doing better.
Yes.
It took until lap 5 before Hunt finally passed the very resistant Brambilla, as the Italian repeatedly and firmly shut the door on Hunt. By the time Hunt was through, though, Lauda had already built up a 7-second lead.
At this point, Peterson had moved up to fourth place. So we had the two Marchers sitting in third and fourth.
And Depailler in the Tyrrell, he also tried to pass Peterson on lap 16, which resulted in the collision between the two, and Peterson was out with car damage, while Depailler was able to continue but way down the field, so pretty much wrecked both their races.
Yeah, that's bad luck for Peterson. He was doing so well in his first drive. At lap 26, which is about 1/3 of the race, it became quite processional as car after car were taking turns passing the understeering Brambilla. Okay, so he was having trouble with his car. Lauda had a 10-second lead over Hunt, and Hunt was even further ahead of Muss in third.
And there was not much happening in the race other than Regazzoni slowly moving up to fourth, having qualified 10th in the Ferrari, but he retired on lap 53.
Oh, thanks, Louis, for mentioning that. Lovely. However, with 15 laps to go, the race suddenly came alive as not only was Hunt's car handling improving as his fuel load lightened, but Lauda was having slight handling problems himself. So slowly the two cars were merging together, coming together on the track.
That's very exciting. So with 3 laps to go, the gap was down to 4 seconds, and most thought that Lauda had the race in hand. But things got worse for him as on the penultimate lap, Hunt reduced the gap to 2 seconds. Why? Lauda's left rear tyre was slowly deflating.
Gosh, Lauda held on only just to win by 1.3 seconds, despite Hunt trying his hardest to catch him. I think he did catch him, he just couldn't overtake him. Like 1.3 seconds, that's pretty much right on him, isn't it? So, yeah, so it was Lauda win, Hunt second, and Muss would finish third with Scheckter. Now, you've got a J there, Louis. I reckon I've deleted that J Is there two Schechters in
Yeah,
this
there's
season?
Ian and Jody. Yeah, Ian's the older brother. I don't know if he's older or younger, but he's the one that's not. We don't talk about him much. We could get away with just saying Schechter.
Yeah, okay.
And
Because
everyone, we mean Jody, we mean Jody.
I reckon I thought you just like hit a key and I was like, oh, what's that doing there? I'll just delete it. So I think it's when you mentioned Ian Schechter. Anyway, Schechter is fourth.
Yes.
So back onto the driver standings. Lauda's now on 18 points. Depaillet's still second on 6 with James Hunt, though, on 6. And we've got Jochen Mass on 5 points in third place. And on the constructors, Ferrari's first on 18, Tyrrell was second on 9, and McLaren is third on 7.
Okay. And I mean, that's a good start for Lauda. 2 wins, 2 races. Yes. Defending his championship. It's looking pretty good.
I know. And Hunt, 2 poles, no wins.
Got a second at least. So, yeah. And nearly this win, actually.
Yeah, nearly. Yeah.
So up to race 3. This is the United States Grand Prix West. There's 2 US races. It's at Long Beach. It's 28th of March, 80 laps, and the weather was warm and sunny. So Italy was the first country to hold 2 F1 races in 1957, and the USA is now the second, with this race coming into the calendar alongside Watkins Glen, which is later in the year.
So at the start of this weekend, I told you that we'd watch out for this relationship, Louis. So at the start of this weekend, the Ferrari manager, Aldetto, approached Lauda and suggested that it was time for Regazzoni to win a race.
Well, we've got to talk about this because Lauda pretty much ignored him. But in his mind, he figured out that at the year's end, either he or Aldetto would have to go.
What was Aldetto thinking, Louis? Like, why would you go? Like, he's just won 2 races from not pole position, and you go up to him and say, I think it's time for the other dude to win a race. What the hell?
Yeah, it's like that's the sort of, I mean, and Regazzoni qualified, was he in 10th or something? And he got up to 4th? Like, that's the driver that the team manager's saying, oh, we think Regazzoni should win one. Well, first of all, make sure he's up there with me and then see if he can earn it.
No, Lauda killed Regazzoni. Like, he was killing 75? Him in 75. Yeah.
And essentially in 74 too, where he had 8 retirements and he could have won that championship too. I don't know. This is stupidity, to be honest, especially early in the season. Maybe at the end when the season championship's over, Regazzoni helped you out. Yeah, I get it. But no.
I don't want to foreshadow anything, right? But do you think this affected Lauda during the season, knowing that he didn't really have the full support of being the number 1 driver of that team?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I wouldn't even say I wouldn't even say the full support, but just that there's this inconsistent support, because I'm sure he had lots of people on his side too.
Yes.
But this is mixed messages, very unusual.
Yeah. Anyway.
Makes no sense at all.
Aldetto, we're not fans. We're not fans of you.
You've made a mistake.
That's right. Exactly. All right. Well, let's get back to this new track. Because this is the first time here. It's really hard to describe. I think you all need to go and look it up. When you see it, you know what I mean. It looks a bit like an arrowhead, but it's like a blunt arrowhead.
Yeah, I thought it was a good summary of yours. That blunt arrowhead is good.
Yeah. So they called this race the American Monaco, Luigi.
Yeah.
It was like a concrete-lined street circuit which featured 2 hairpins and a long, curving waterfront, which they called a straight, but it was actually a really long curve. Lauda said the course was much bumpier than Monaco and harder on the car, but easier on the driver. Interesting. Emmerson Fittipaldi said he liked it very much, but Frenchmen Lafitte and Depaillet would not agree to that, and they didn't like it. So, yeah, mixed feelings about it. But, yeah, there were some very tight hairpins in it and then this massive, long curve.
Curvy straight. Yeah.
Yeah, curvy straight. Yeah.
Just shows that each driver has their own style of driving that suits certain tracks and cars that suit certain tracks. And, yeah.
Typical of America, though, to call it the American Monaco.
Yeah,
Like,
of course.
of course.
It didn't stick, did it? Here we are in
No.
2025 and we don't talk about
No,
it.
no, we don't.
There was a large turnout for this race with 27 drivers, which included Australian Alan Jones and the Surtees, and there were many teams modifying their livery for the event. So no doubt for sponsorship extraction.
Yes. Yeah, probably. Yeah. So it was a new track for everyone. So the first practice session involved one car after another, taking to escape roads as they tried to find the best way around. The track was also very dusty, having never been used, which made it even more tricky for the drivers.
And when it came to the second day, some drivers and teams were having a tough time still. So it was a surprise that Regazzoni, probably Ordetto did something, set the fastest time of all, securing his first pole position in 2 years.
What a coincidence, Louis. What a coincidence. Like we said, he 2 years, like he was nearly man in 74, not really doing much in 75. So this pole position is very lucky for him, although I think it's a little bit fishy. But anyway.
Yeah, I'm sure Lauda thought that too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially when Lauda said this track's easy on the driver.
That's right. Yeah.
So Depailler in the Tyrrell was the fastest on day one, and he would do well to secure second place overall. Hunt qualified third. And now he was sporting the car the car was now sporting wings with his McLaren. Okay. What does that mean?
I think they put the
skirts. Yes.
The skirts. They put them back in. So they must have tailored them to be within the rules, and they were back in. So interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And Lauda was fourth on the grid.
Okay. So prior to the race on Sunday, the crowd was entertained by a supporting race. It was a vintage Grand Prix race with Formula champions like Juan Manuel Fangio, your favourite Louis Denny Holm, Jack Brabham, Sterling Moss, Carroll Shelby. Gosh, we haven't heard that name for a while. I don't know who Rene Dreyfus is, but I do know Richie Ginther. He's in there. Innes Ireland and Maurice Trintignant. Dan Gurney and Phil Hill were also there as co-directors of the event. So it was like the who's who of past racing.
Two things I was going to say. I would love to have watched that. Yeah. That would have been cool to watch. But this is a little bit unfair because Fangio retired in 58? Yeah. Denny Holm retired at the end of 74.
74? Yeah.
Yeah, he's like fresh. It's not a fair race. It's like one guy retired 15 years later than the other. So it's like Denny Holm was like current day, you know? So a little bit unfair. But I'd like to know what the results were, but yeah.
Nah, I don't think the results, I couldn't find it. I doubt they were going for it. I wonder which cars they were driving. Like, was Fangio driving his car from 1950? I don't know.
Yeah, that's probably now worth $100 million.
That's right. I mean, you're right. Fangio was 65 years old. So, yeah, I don't know that they were going for it, Louis. But anyway, it would have been to watch. It would have been great to see.
Because we would have seen their whole bodies sticking out of their cars if they were using the old cars. That would have been a novelty. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, race start for the actual Formula One race. Brambilla and Reutemann collided at the first corner, and Nielsen in the Lotus was out due to a suspension issue.
They limit these grids with the starters, but the first corner incidents nearly always happen, don't they? What was happening out the front of the race now, though?
Oh, yeah, because Regazzoni's in the front, we're sort of letting it go. Regazzoni had taken an immediate lead with Depailler slotting into second, and then came Hunt, Lauda and the rest.
So in what I call the midfield gaggle, and we're not going to name all of them because it would take forever, there was a range of accidents that included Lafitte, Amon's back, Louis, Watson and others. Out front, upon arriving at the hairpin, Hunt was nearly side by side with Depailler, but the Tyrrell driver was having none of it and he slammed the door shut on Hunt.
Yeah, there's a lot of door slamming going on in this era, wasn't there?
I think
the drivers had to be aware of it.
Yeah, I think a term coined by Mike Lang, slamming the door shut.
And it only applies to when it's being done to Hunt. Because it's not fair, it's wrong.
It's wrong. That's right.
So Hunt then quickly darted to the outside line, and that is when Depailler got a little sideways and he was having some issues with his brakes. This then forced Hunt into the wall, bang, out of the race.
Yeah, he was very upset about this. And as he dragged himself out of what he thought was his undrivable car and shook his fist, he stood there and he shook his fist at Depailler each time he came around the corner.
Yeah. That's commitment, right?
Yeah.
And I've read that he stood in the middle of the track for some considerable time. And I did look at some vision of this race, but didn't see this footage, unfortunately, because I really wanted to see it. But I did see him storming back to the pits looking very angry. But it got worse because after the race, when the McLaren mechanics came to retrieve the stricken car, they got in and they were able to drive it back to the pits.
Oh, no.
So
Hunt could potentially have stayed in the race. Who knows what might have happened? A sliding doors moment affected by his temper.
Yeah, and can you imagine? And that mechanic getting a bit of a drive too would have been fun.
Yeah. All right, so we're only at the 10-lap mark and we have 5 cars left in the race, Louis.
Wait, how can there be 5 cars? Did we talk about the midfield gaggle taking out the grid?
Yes.
Are you sure there's 5 cars left?
Well, that's what Mr. Lang says.
Okay, let's continue on. At the front, Regazzoni was comfortably in the lead with a 10-second gap ahead of Lauda in second. And it's unusual to see Regazzoni having the measure of Lauda, isn't it?
It is. I don't know what's going on there, but anyway, it doesn't seem right. But unfortunately, Lauda had flat spotted his tyres and he was having to put up with some serious vibrations. This meant that Regazzoni was able to keep pulling away from him.
Okay, so there's something else at play. So Depailler, which Detto won't want to hear, he'll just say, no, that's the result. So Depailler, who after the Hunt incident spun and fell back a few places, was the only real excitement as much of the focus was on him and his comeback drive as he passed Jarier in the shadow on lap 21, then Peterson on lap 27, and then on lap 33 he took 4th place as Price's shadow also retired.
I'm really impressed with this shadow team. They're like the early 2010s Force India, Louis. They're consistently outperforming the bigger teams.
Yeah, and the mere fact Peterson was even considering them to join. Then Depailler was up to 3rd as Schechter's Tyrrell suffered a technical issue, and this led to the next interesting element. Upon pulling out, Schechter surprised everyone by very quickly peeling off his clothes because fuel had been leaking into the cockpit and was burning his skin.
Wow. I tried looking for that vision also, Louis, but I couldn't find some. But if we were a different, maybe better, different podcast, we would insert some like erotic strip music here, but we can't. We won't. So,
no, we won't and we can't.
We just move on, yes.
So up to lap 40, halfway, and I hate to say it, but nothing much more to talk about of the race.
Yeah, so the final result, Regazzoni took an easy win, the 4th of his career, and he celebrated and completed the grand, I don't know how to say this word. Is
Shalem? I think it's Shalem. Yeah.
Of pole position, fastest lap, winning the race and leading every lap, about 40 seconds ahead of Lauda in second. Yeah, man, when he wins, he does it like in style.
Well, Lauda was having a problem, but yeah.
Depailler in 3rd, Lafitte in the Ligier in 4th, Mas in the McLaren in 5th, and Fittipaldi. Well, he was a lap behind, but he earned the Fittipaldi team their first ever points.
Yeah, that's impressive for like race 3. I'll give him credit for that.
Yeah, and just a side note, apparently Hunt, seeing that Depailler finished 3rd, stormed into the post-race press conference and had a wild rant at him for the accident that ended his race. I searched so hard for some footage of that, but I couldn't find it.
I love that he didn't let it go. He did, and he even took away Depailler's moment. And you know what I mean? And there must have been more than 5 finishes. That must have been a typo earlier. Okay. But we've talked about the main points of this race. So we can sometimes get little things like that wrong, and I own that, and I apologize to you, Rosa, and to all the listeners.
Okay. Yes.
But that rant is just awesome to hear about that. And it was more interesting. That Hunt Depailler thing was more interesting than the race. No offense to Regazzoni. And just a side comment. So there's Regazzoni well ahead of Lauda. and no team orders to switch them. So
No.
Vettel got his way.
I know.
And this is one of those sliding doors moments or pivots or whatever you want to call it.
We got to pin it. We got to pin this moment.
We got to pin it. Like, should Regazzoni have let his team leader through?
Yes.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see. Yeah. So to the drivers' standings, Niki is still first on 24. Depailler is second on 10, and now Regazzoni is third on 9. And on the constructors' side, we've got Ferrari first on 27, Tyrrell second on 13, and McLaren third on 9. Yep. All right. We might leave it there, Louis. That was a good first 3 races to go through. Some interesting things starting to play out.
Yeah, and some politics and drama.
Yes. All right. Well, we'll come back for, where are we up to? Part 3.
Race 4. Part 3, race 4.
Okay. All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.